Barcelona was stacked full of drama for Max Verstappen, who despite coming off at turn 4 early in the race, managed to bring home the win for Red Bull. What made this performance even more incredible was that he did it while his DRS wasn't working properly. But why did it break, and just how bad was it for the reigning world champion? Let's take a look. To analyse just how impressive Max Verstappen's win was with its DRS not functioning properly, we need to understand just how important DRS is. If you've ever watched F1 TV coverage, you will have heard the commentators talk about DRS constantly. What am I on about? If you're watching this video, then of course you've watched F1 on TV, so you know just how much DRS gets talked about. The drag reduction system was introduced back in 2011 to help drivers with overtaking. It allows drivers to increase straight line speed by reducing rear wing drag. This is done by creating a gap in the rear wing when a car is running within 1 second of the car in front. It's often claimed that this takes away from the skill of pulling off a challenging overtaking maneuver. Former F1 driver Juan Pablo Montoya, who was well known for his aggressive overtakes, compared the device to giving Picasso Photoshop. Whether you love or hate the system, there's no denying that it helps drivers to overtake, which, at the end of the day, is what makes F1 exciting for 99% of the fans. Personally, if I wanted to watch a procession of cars not passing each other for 2 hours, I would go to my local coffee shop and watch the traffic in the town centre. However, as the latest generation of F1 cars have been designed to allow drivers to follow more closely with a reduced dirty air effect, many people had hoped this would lead to DRS being dropped. While this is an aim of F1 sporting bosses in the coming years, the device is still in use this season, or at least it should be. So how important was DRS for Max Verstappen in Barcelona? Max was battling with George Russell for a long time at the start of the race. Specifically though, we're going to look at laps 16 and 24 of the race. In lap 16, Max has been on a set of medium tyres for 1 lap, and is closing in behind George Russell for what in theory should be a simple enough pass for the world champion. With DRS open, Max should be able to breeze past the Mercedes of George Russell, due to the Red Bull's much faster straight line speed and the extra oomph that DRS gives. First of all, let's have a look at lap 16. Russell was running in 3rd place, 15 seconds behind Sergio Perez. This meant that Russell didn't have access to DRS. Max was around 0.7 seconds behind Russell as they went into the pit straight, which meant he did have DRS available. This graph shows Max Verstappen's DRS data, and you can clearly see that at the start of the lap it was on. But that isn't what we saw on the TV images. Verstappen's DRS did turn on very briefly, but shut almost straight away afterwards. In fact, Max's DRS data shows it turning on throughout the race, but we watched the race and we know that isn't true. This means that the problem probably wasn't electrical but mechanical. So Max is coming down the pit straight on lap 16 behind Russell, and his DRS opens for just a second before closing again. Well, if we have a look at their speed data on track, we can see the effect this had. Verstappen is the purple line and Russell is the pale green line. The first section of this graph is the pit straight. The following sharp drop is when the drivers brake for the first corner. By the end of the straight, Max is going 8 km an hour faster than Russell with basically no DRS. Those 8 km an hour are just from the Red Bull's superior straight line speed and a bit of a toe from George. Now let's have a look at a lap when his DRS did work. In lap 24, Max was again in a position heading into the pit straight where having a working DRS would have allowed him to pass George Russell. Well, his DRS was working this time, as you can see from the graph. He's 27 km an hour faster than Russell by the end of the pit straight this time. This means that with DRS open, he was gaining 19 km an hour down the pit straight, which is massive. Now, what should have happened at the end of the straight was Max passing Russell and driving off ahead of the Mercedes. It was only Russell's incredible defensive driving that kept him at bay. If Max would have had a working DRS for the whole race, he would have passed George much earlier and would have won the race by far more than he eventually did. The pit straight in Barcelona is the main overtaking zone, so the fact that Max was able to gain positions in that area despite not having the extra 19 km an hour that DRS would give him is incredible and a testament to just how fast the Red Bull is in a straight line. So what was it that went wrong with Verstappen's DRS system? Like we said earlier, the car data shows that the car's control system throughout the DRS was on, when it wasn't. This means it's more likely to be a mechanical issue than an electrical issue. It was an issue that Max faced for qualifying as well. After the qualifying on Saturday, the team replaced his DRS flat pivot pins and his DRS actuator. These are two of the mechanical parts of the DRS system that are attached to the rear wing. The flap pivot pins are at either end of the DRS flap. They work like a door hinge for the DRS flap. Basically, the points that the flap pivots on. The DRS actuator is the actual mechanical part that pulls the flap open. It attaches to the DRS flap in the middle of the wing and basically pulls the flap up when DRS turns on. That wasn't the only work the team did though. You can see in this photo that the team did some strengthening work to the actual wing itself. It appears the team was concerned with stress-related cracks or fractures that they may have found during the checks of the wing after qualifying. As such, there's a large section of the DRS flap that's been patched. Interestingly, whilst Perez hadn't suffered the issue in qualifying and didn't have the DRS actuator or pivots replaced ahead of the race, they did apply the same fixes to his rear wing's upper flap. Red Bull, like every other team on the grid, has been on a weight-saving regime recently, and maybe some of that weight saving meant weakening the structure of the rear wing, specifically the upper plane that forms the DRS. Speaking after the Spanish GP race, Red Bull team boss Christian Horner seemed to admit that the problem was caused by them taking their weight loss regime a little too seriously. Of course, we're chasing every ounce of performance and weight is a factor as well, he explained. Maybe we've been too ambitious there, but I think we need to understand exactly what the issue is because we thought we had a fix. Unfortunately, it didn't prove to be a reliable fix for the whole race. Helmut Marko has promised Verstappen that the issue will be solved by the time of the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend. You have to calm Verstappen down, he told the media. I mean, we were surprised by this problem ourselves, and you still have to make the best of it. When he didn't press the button on the curb anymore, it worked properly. He's just an emotional racer, that's alright. We instructed him to remain calm and to only press once. Before that, he pressed the button several times, so that the DRS then closed again. Thank God it then opened at the right moment. We know where the problem lies, there are still 5 days and a day has 24 hours for us, so that shouldn't be a problem. Red Bull will be glad to have the car fixed and working for Monaco. They'll need every little bit of pace they can find for qualifying at the city circuit that is notoriously difficult to overtake at. The race will probably be decided on Saturday, and if Red Bull can't get the DRS working reliably on Max's car, he may find himself missing precious tenths of lap time when they matter most. There is another theory to what happened with Max's DRS though. Images of Lewis Hamilton having a close inspection of Max Verstappen's rear wing in Barcelona have emerged. Remember in Brazil in 2021 when Max was fined €50,000 for touching and examining Lewis Hamilton's rear wing in Parc Ferme after qualifying? Maybe Hamilton was finally getting payback at his old rival. It would be an incredible storyline if it was true, but the reality is much less interesting. There's a good chance he could end up with a fine for touching Verstappen's car, but he isn't to blame for the DRS not working in the race. Or is he? Well, the whole video actually shows he didn't fiddle with the wing at all, but you thought he might have for a moment, didn't you? Want to know how Mercedes managed to sort themselves out for the Spanish Grand Prix? Then click the video that's showing on your screen and I'll see you there.